right, today's chapter starts with angle basics. We're going to combine this with some other types of angles later, but you've probably learned a few of these in the past already. Angles are a measure of rotation. So that means that you are not just, let's see if I can find my little stick post, looking at two little angle deal. Okay, all right, so here, you see that? Yeah. There we go. All right, so when we're talking about rotation, usually it starts at 0 and it's going to turn and turn and turn, and the more degrees you're going around, the bigger it's going to be, okay, until it gets back to where it was. So you're saying all your different types will occur in there. So that's an acute angle on 90 degrees, coming on around, and even like around there, this is called a reflex angle when it's going back around past 180. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. All right, parts of an angle. Angle is formed by two rays that have an endpoint that they share. So that endpoint is called the vertex. Anytime you see a corner, whether it's a rectangle or just a plane angle, any shape, if it's got a corner point, then that is a vertex of that angle right there. All right. The rays are called legs, so the sides of the legs, and the vertex, of course, is the corner. And it does not stop just at the ray. I mean, the ray keeps on going, remember? Keeps on going forever and ever like a line does. So when you say the interior, the inside of this angle, it's all this out here as well. Okay, it keeps on going, and the exterior will be all of this out here. It doesn't have to stop at the little tip of that arrow. It keeps on going. All right, when you name an angle, you name it with 3 points, and you put the angle sign in front of it. So this red angle could be called angle ABC or angle CBA. Now notice the order that I went. The B was in the middle each time. That's very important. When you name an angle, it's like you're tracing over it, and it has to be in that particular order. So ABC or CBA. If I said angle BAC, then that would be going from B to A to C, and that's not the same angle. That's the angle up in there. So it has to have that vertex, that corner point in the middle of the name. Now, since there's just one angle right here, sometimes they'll just call it angle B, and that's okay too. But if you got a bunch of angles, this has 1, 2, 3 big angles in there, or 3 angles in it. So you have to name it with all 3 letters. So that one will be called, can you guess it? Angle AZB or BZA. All right, and then that one, BZC, or turn it around, CZB. Okay, the Z has to be in the middle. All right, or what about the whole thing? Okay, angle AZC. You don't worry about the B part in the middle. If you're doing this whole entire thing, you just ignore that line. AZC or CZA. This is it. All right. So, and then sometimes, a lot of times, we're just going to put one letter up in the corner. That's not a point. It's not a capital printed letter. So this is just angle F. And if you see me put the little curves on it, that shows you, I want you to just look at this angle that starts at A and stops at B, or this angle that starts at B and goes to C. But if I wanted the whole thing, I usually come out here and make it a little bigger on the outer part. You see those curves. All right, classifying it, you know these. A right angle, look, it has a right angle box, 90 degrees. So anytime you see the box, think 90 degrees, all right. A straight angle. A straight angle is a straight line. It looks just like a straight line. It is a straight line. But it also has an angle, a movement, rotation halfway around the circle, halfway around to the other way. So it's 180 degrees. This one tends to hide from you. When you have angles like this, you see angle A is right here, angle B is right here, angle C is right here. Oop, I'm going too far. But what are they all three doing together? They're sitting on top of that straight line. So when you see that straight line, this is going to let you know it's 180 degrees. So, straight angle, straight line. Okay, all right, where are we? Also, an acute angle, less than 90 degrees. So if we got 90s like that, this is going to be smaller and like cut off a little more like this. One way you can remember it when things are cute, like a little baby or a teddy bear or a little girl, okay, whatever. Acute angle, less than 90, that's the smaller one. And then obtuse angle is a bigger one. Now obtuse and acute have normal English definitions that have nothing to do with geometry. The dog has an acute sense of smell. What does acute mean in that case? Acute means sharp and keen. So this is more like a sharp pointed end. Obtuse has a regular English meaning. If someone says that's an obtuse way of thinking, they're not calling you smart, they're calling you dumb, okay? Like your brain is a big empty space. So maybe that's where they got that obtuse angle. It's this big open space right here. But just keep those in mind, which one they're talking about. You never know, they might just describe it obtuse or acute. And then a reflex angle is the one that was more than 180 but less than 360. So at first it looks like, you know, an acute or obtuse. It's not this part. That reflex angle would be the back part of it where it's coming back around, and that's the back side. We'll look at those when we get into circles, but you don't see too many of them just in the basics. You just stick with acute and obtuse and right and straight. But this will be the reflex part back here. Alright? So here's your math joke. It's cold in here. Go stand in the corner. Why? You might know. It's 90 degrees. Oh, yay, math joke. Alright, here's another one. What's that say? Acute. T. Pie. You are a cutie pie. Yay. Okay. Alright, so now we're on to angle relationships. How they relate to each other. This girl, Angle, is saying, get away from me, you're so obtuse. And so he says, kiss me, my cute Angle. Alright, yeah. It's math. Come on, give me a break. Alright, the word adjacent means just what it means here. It's side by side. My room is adjacent to Miss Patterson's room. We share the wall right between us. So right here, A and B are sharing this ray, and so they are adjacent angles. And what happens when you have that, if A was 40 and B was 50, you could combine them to make one big angle of 90 degrees. Okay? Adjacent. They're side by side. Doesn't really mean any particular numbers. This could be 40 and this could be 30 and this total could be 70. It just depends on what they are. It doesn't have to be any certain size. Alright? And then what is adjacent to angle VMW? Where's VMW? What's an adjacent angle to that? Okay? Some people want to say XMY. That's not going to get it. That's not sharing a side. Alright? It's got to be right up against it, sharing a side. So you could put WMX, or you could branch out a little bit and make it, doesn't have to be acute. It could be WMY. That one big angle is right next to this angle. Those are side by side angles. This one big green angle and this maroon angle. Alright? So, adjacent. Alright, angle bisector. When you bisect something, remember in the last chapter, what does it mean? Cut it into two equal pieces. So if you got 120, what's going to happen? It's going to get cut in half. 60 and 60. Okay? Now, vertical angles is the first big relationship that we're going to need, and you're going to see these all year long. Verticals do not mean up and down angles. These mean opposite angles. So these are opposite angles, and they're formed when two lines cross and make a big X. So if you don't see the X, you're not doing it right. Okay? It's not that type of angle. What angle is vertical to angle A? It's opposite to A. Vertical to it would be B. And when you have that relationship, what's cool is they match. So if this was 80 degrees for angle A, angle B would be 80 degrees. Vertical angles. And then if C is vertical to D, if this was 100, this would have to match it and be 100. So let's see, what are the matches on this one? So looking at this one, now you do see that it still has an X. It has 3 lines, so it's making a fancy X, but they're making an X with these two, or it's making an X with these two. So there's different ways to look at it, but you still think opposite. Really, verticals should have been called opposite angles. So angle 1 is vertical to angle 4. They would match. And watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put hatch marks on here, a double and a double. That just means they match. Alright, and then angle 2 would be vertical to angle 5. 1, 2, 3 to match it. Doesn't mean it's bigger or smaller. And then let's keep it simple on one of them. 6 would be vertical to 3. And those would match. The vertical angles always match. They're like the freebies. So if you got 125 right here, what are you going to have right here? 125. Easy, easy. Okay, a linear pair. Now what's linear make you think? A line, right? And a pair is 2. When they say a linear pair, that means it's going to be just 2, but they are going to be sitting up against the line. Now it could be sitting on top of the line like that, or it could be underneath the line, 2 angles underneath the line. See the line right there? Or it could be on the side of the line, or it could be 2 lines and they could be like that, slanted, but they're right up against that straight line. That's what you're looking for. So when you have that, you're going to have a linear pair, and they're going to make 180, be supplementary, because that's a straight angle on the bottom. Straight line means 180. So what do? 180 minus 120 give you 60. Easy, easy. Okay, so you'll have to do these from time to time, and they're pretty simple. You can start, if you want to, you can go ahead and find the vertical, 72, 72, but what's the one right next to it going to be? Subtract it from 180, and you get 108. See? Straight line. And then the vertical to 108 is 108. Okay, so for protractors, you're going to need a protractor, but not as big as the one I'm going to have here. This is for demonstration. So, your protractor, see how big? Lovely. Alright, it has 2 scales. Right? They both end up going, move that over. They both end up going to, where's my hand? Alright, 0. Notice the 0 here is on the outside, and it goes around to 180 on the other side. And then on the inside here, it starts at 0, and it goes around to 180 on that side. So you can use either scale, but you got to use the right one to do it correctly. So I'm going to show you up here on the board how to do, and hopefully you can see it pretty well. Alright, so to measure an angle, I'm going to just draw one up here. You can do one for practice if you've got a protractor at home. And if not, you could down one, down, get a clip art picture of a protractor and cut it out, and it would work pretty good. It's going to do the same thing. So, can you see that? Maybe, we'll see. Let me turn off the light here. A little less reflection. No, that's not good. That. Yep, that's better. Okay. So, we have our protractor. Now, remember your vertex is the corner, and that's going to be the center of your angle. When you look for the size of the angle, you usually look up inside the vertex there. The legs can go way out, or they can be real short. It doesn't matter. You're going to put your protractor and line it up with the center. There's usually a little dot, either a little indentation, or there's a little bubble, or there's like a little crisscrossing thing right there in the center, and you will line that up with your vertex. And then one of the legs needs to point to 0. So when I got it on here, I'm pointing this leg, this 0 points out better. Now, if I put it like that, yeah, that's on a 0, but this isn't pointing to anything, so that's not going to help me. We got to have the other one pointing to some numbers. So I'm lining up center and 0, and you got to check it 2 or 3 times because it's going to slide around, and you get that part on, this one might come off. So you check. It should be like, on yours is clear plastic, you can go right up underneath it and see that it lines up with 0. Now we have to stop and think right here. Which 0 did we use? Did we use the one on the inside, or did we use the one on the outside? This is the outside 0. Over here, that's the inside. So we lined it up with the inside, so guess which numbers we're going to look at? Just the inside. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and that's a bit between 40 and 50. Now I can look at the little bitty marks. You don't have to just have the marks for the outside part. That's 40 right here at this main line right here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's about 47 degrees right there. Okay? Now, what if it was pointed a different way? Then, what if it was pointed like this? You can line up either side. You can line it up like we did before, center and 0. Here's the 0 I lined up. Or you can line up this way. It's up to you. Okay? Center, put that center on there, and then line up the 0. And now, if I use this 0, this is my outside 0. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, coming on around. That's 110, about 112 for that size. Now think about it. 112, that's bigger than 90. What kind of angle is supposed to be bigger than 90? Obtuse. So I have an obtuse angle there. It better look obtuse. Most of the time I can tell by looking at it within 5 degrees what it is. But that's something you'll just have to practice. So the worksheet that you're going to do looks like this at the top. On one of them's real easy, and just put it on there and try it. And then this one is on there. And what you can do, since the protractor is kind of small on this one, you can extend the lines out. And I've already done that on the worksheet, so it's been extended out. But just know that you can make them longer so that you can read it easier. So if you're going to find an angle like angle, let's say KHI, I think that's like number 2 right there. You might want to just like take the letters and put them out here so you can see it, because it's hard to see under the protractor once you get it on there. Put the J out here, here's the L, that's the L line, this is the M line, and put your letters on out there. But let's highlight this little part. You don't have to highlight on yours, but just to focus. So if this is K going to H and then out to I, then that's the only ones you look at. You put your protractor on there. I can't do one on here right now. But you put your protractor on there, and this would be a good place for the 0 to be. Okay, because it's going to line up. Here's your center. And then what is that pointing to? Up that way. And do it like that. Another one that's on there that's a little tricky is MHK. MHK, like that. Now this side, I would put the 0 on M, and that would be the outside 0. And here's your center, and then you look up and see where K is hitting. So your protractor will be lined up kind of like this when you did it. Okay, center and the 0 right here. So try those and see how you do. I know it's kind of weird having to do it like that. If you were in class, you could use a real protractor here. But I've got one that you can turn different ways on that and see. All right. Okay, so stop your video and do those measuring of the angles. And then I want you to come back and I want you to try to draw some angles with your protractor. So we're going to draw. I'll get this where I'll look at it rather than, well, why am I making it? Okay. So we're going to draw, let's start with a 60-degree angle. So you're going to need a ray, a nice, neat ray. Don't do it freehand and do it sloppy. So take the edge of your protractor and make you a ray. It does not matter which end you start on. I'm going to start right here. And that means the other end is going to be my vertex. Okay? So I'm going to line it up like I did before. The center vertex goes at that center point, and the 0 is going to be on the other end of that ray. So center and 0, line it up carefully. Now I have to stop again and think, which 0 did I use? I used this one. So that's on the outside. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Put a mark around the outside. Doesn't matter, it says 120. We're only looking at that 60. There's another 60 over here, but that's on the inside. We're on the outside. Alright, so you're almost through. You're going to take away your thing, and you're going to come back. You're going to make the other leg, line it up. You don't have to go all the way up there to it. You could just go a little ways if you didn't want to make it humongous. Sometimes they're way out there. And there's your other leg. And then I like for you to write the angle size up inside of there. 60 degrees. Alright, let's try another one. And like I said, you can do this with a paper protractor. You need a ruler, you know, something with a straight edge. We're going to make this one point the other way. Okay? Put my center, and I like to put the dot there just to remind me the center has to go on that dot and then line up the 0. This time I'm going to make an obtuse, 120 degrees. Now I see 120 right there, but that doesn't matter. I have to stop and think every time. Which 0 did I use? This time I used the inside 0. So I'm only looking at inside numbers. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, around to 120. Now I can mark mine on the inside, but you can mark yours on the outside. That's the same thing right there. Alright, it will not matter. Take it away. Line it up with your center dot going up to those marks. Go all the way to them or do whatever. And then think about it. Does it look like 120 degrees? It should be obtuse, right? So it should be on out there. And that's how you draw. So on the bottom of that worksheet is to draw. And I want you to draw them on a separate sheet and just take a picture. Just get you to do a few. And take a picture of the ones you did. So what is this symbol? This symbol is perpendicular. Did you remember that? We forgot already. Okay. That's the symbol for perpendicular. And it means what? What does it mean for lines? That they're going to be 90 degrees. So if these are perpendicular lines, they make 90 degrees. And so those are angles that you need to remember. And on that last one, remember, if you got one, you could actually have one right next to it, one vertical, and one right there. Those verticals and linear pairs, they're still working there. Okay? All right, some angle relationships here. The little m's that they'll sometimes put in front of the angle sign, don't let that freak you out. Measure of angle A is 30. If the measure of angle B is 30, then the angle A is, what's that symbol? Congruent to angle B. So if they match, you're really supposed to call them congruent. So when you see it written like that, it's just equal, but don't freak out. But that's what they're talking about. All right, so let's work this problem. This is on your notes. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Now, if I don't know what they are just yet, let's pretend we don't know, then how could I show that they match? 1 matches 3. How could I show that? With hatch marks. All you gotta do, just like we did with segments, put those hatch marks on there. All right, this says the measure of angle 1 is 50. So let's put 50. And now we got our marks telling us, yeah, you need it over here too. 50. So that means angle 3, of course, is 50. Now let's think. Measure of angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. All put together, all added up. What should they add up to be? Well, what are they sitting on top of? Straight line, 180. So you could fill it in. 50 plus something in the middle, we don't know, plus 50 equals 180. But most of y'all will probably say, hey, I got 100, those two 50s make 100, subtract it, and you'll get 80. Okay? All right, so we got more relationships, complementary and supplementary. Maybe you've heard of these. Complementary are the ones who have a sum of 90 degrees. You'll see the right angle box, or you might just see something that says these are complementary to each other, or what is the complement? They'll just write complement. If this is 50 degrees, and this would have to be how much? To make 90, they got to make 90, this would be 40. If this was a bisector, what are these two complementary angles going to be? Cut in half, 90 cut in half, 45 and 45. Complementary. Just a vocabulary. Alright? Not the same as how you would do that complementary. Math joke, yay. Okay. Alright. Supplementary is like a linear pair, but it doesn't have to be just two. It could be more than two, or it could be two. It's the same exact thing. It's going to make 180, or all three would make 180. Supplementary angles are going to add up to be 180. Okay? So which ones are going to be supplementary out of these groups? Watch how many are supplementary, how easy it is to find supplementary. 1 and 2, supplementary. 2 and 4. 1 and 3, supplementary. They're up against a straight line, they're going to be supplementary. 6 and 8, 7 and 8, 5 and 7, 5 and 6. Supplementary, up against a straight line. That's what you're looking for. It could be on the side of a straight line. Okay? Lots of them there. Alright, so this is the worksheet, and in the directions, it gives you a couple of special things to do. So the instructions at the top tell you that AG is perpendicular to CE. So what does that mean? Let's look at it right here. AG right there, that line, and CE, this line going up and down. Perpendicular. That means right angles. Don't overthink it. Perpendicular is a simple concept. It makes right angles. So that means we're going to have one big right angle there, and 3 others to go with it, okay? Remember, if it's like that Jesus cross, it's going to make 4 of them. So right angles with the 2 right there, and then right angle, right there, all 4 of them, like that. Boom, 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 boom. All right, you like my sound effects? Okay. All right, so then point B is the midpoint of AC. And I can tell you, oh, I will skip one. AC, right there, and BF are also perpendicular. Now look at that. Does that look like a right angle? Nope. They get a little mishap when they drew it. But doesn't matter. If they said it was perpendicular, then you put the right angles on there too. Don't worry about it. And then they said, this is the midpoint, so this is half. Remember how you put hatch marks? I don't even think you use that in there. I don't know why they put that, but it's there. We'll leave it on. So you're going to go through and you're going to answer true or false for 1 through 10. And then I'm going to let you skip on down to 13 and 15 and tell the size of the angles. Okay, so take your time with it. Don't just guess and put some junk. I don't think I'm going to let you have a repeat of your true or false stuff, so take your time. When it's talking about things like angle 1, here's angle 1, is congruent to CBD. CBD right here. Alright, tell me how much is in this corner right here? A 90. How much is in this corner? A 90. So are they both the same? Yeah, so that's true. So that's how you're going to do it. Alright, angle addition postulate. We've already studied. We're going to stop there.